So good morning. Today's little video, we were talking about notebooks and the use of notebooks in class last night and why it's important to keep a Ving Tsun notebook. And one of the things that we've talked about a lot in the past is how, what should the content be? So last night we talked about techniques and how to use it as a way to reference your order of training and so forth. But one of the other things that you stress a lot is the importance of understanding the Cantonese language that is relevant to Ving Tsun, so that your thought is if you're really going to be a practitioner and really understand the art, it's important to know what terms mean. You don't have to learn the whole language, but you should, right? You should at least learn.
I think if somebody's putting themselves out there as a sifu, as a teacher, they should at least understand the basic language of the art. I mean, I've gone out of my way to learn a decent amount of Cantonese, but I'm not fluent in it. But the one thing that I see all the time is people are out there, but they don't even understand the basic terminology of the art. Understanding the basic terms and even the most basic Cantonese will help you to understand the art better. So when somebody...
Is it possible that somebody, if they don't do that they could completely misunderstand what a technique really is for?
I think so.
I
think they can miss... they might be a good practitioner, but they might be missing some nuances by not understanding the terminology correctly or some of the phrases that go along with the art. Because when you don't understand this stuff, you might be missing just a small little thing, a small little concept. You don't understand it.
Right, but the small concept becomes it's the very idea of the little idea, right? Sunim Tao, it's that little thing can make a big difference.
Yeah.
It's when
understanding what Sunim Tao means is a just understanding what those three words mean is a big deal actually in understanding the first form. Understanding what Chumkyu actually means is really a big piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
So, when I hear people massacre the terminology, it just drives me nuts. Tan Sao does not mean palm up block or sky palm. Does not mean that.
What does it mean?
It's to spread out, to lay, to open up. Does not mean palm up block.
So
Biu Sao does not mean upper block. Gan Sao does not mean lower block. It's people should take the time to learn a little bit of the language so that they can understand the art better.
So going back to Tan Sao, right? So spreading, why does that make a difference in terms of your practice? And this other thing that's very important to you is to pass on Ving Tsun as it was taught to you by Yip Ching, as it was taught to him by his father Yip Man. What is the understanding the language is important to passing it on correctly and practicing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what is
in people's notebook they should be understanding the terminology and write it in their notebook so that they can understand it better, and then they can, if they're a teacher in the future, they can pass it on better.
Right. So can you talk some about the implications of Tan Sao and what it actually means, in terms of practice, and how that would be different from how you might practice if you had a wrong understanding of the terminology?
It's just, so all the terminology, most of the terminology of the art is describing an action, right? It's not describing exactly how the block is used, right? Because Tan Sao, you're opening up the hand, you're spreading it out, right?
Right.
You could also be spreading out, the opponent's arm off the center line.
Right.
But it can be done to the inside, can be done to the outside. It just doesn't mean put your palm out. You know what I'm saying?
It's an action, not it's not a noun. You're not naming an object. Right.
And why does, I hear people translate Biu Sao as upper block. It's just not accurate at all. It doesn't say anything about what what the hand is actually doing.
Right.
So I think that people do a disservice to the art when they don't understand the terminology.
Right.
You know.
How did you go about learning it this way?
I got a book. I just started to learn the language,
Mm-hmm.
and also I would ask Sifu in Hong Kong, what does this term mean? What does this
right.
thing? What does this mean? And then I would write it down in my notebook.
Right.
So I mean, it's not hard to figure it out.
Right.
There's apps that you can get on your phone
Right.
that help you to understand the language.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you put in Tan in the app I have on my phone. It does not say palm up.
Right.
It says to spread out.
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, you can tell it's a hot button for me.
It is.
Because it irritates me when I see
Right.
practitioners out there and they don't even understand the most basic terminology of the art. You know, to me, that's
Right.
an important thing to understand.
Right. Well, and I think the point you're making is that understanding these terms goes to how you practice correctly, how you pass it on correctly, and these are subtle but significant things. And
Yeah.
you know, going back to the metaphor of Tanzan, and then we can kind of wrap this up for today. But it's
Siunim Tao.
yeah.
I heard Siunim Tao. Somebody translated it as the way of the Shaolin Temple.
No,
That
not exactly. No.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk about the meaning of Sunim Tao another time. But thanks for watching, folks, and have a good day and practice well. Get your Cantonese on.